Hello again, it's your friendly neighborhood host, JT Wheatley, back for another edition of the History Comics Podcast, this time with another episode of the Classics, where we're now focusing on Grendel, Devil by Deed, by Matt Wagner. This is a now classic story in which Matt Wagner recollected his character of Grendel originally in the backup story in his Mage comic book published from 1984 to 86, and which focused on Hunter Rose, a criminal socialite and crime boss who also goes by the figure of Grendel, who's basically this masked black wax marrying spear wielding mastermind who, interesting enough, even though he's the star of the comic book, he's an out and out criminal who goes around killing and assassinating people with quite ease and skill, and also seems to take a delight into it, especially when he goes up against Argent the Wolf, who apparently is almost like he's a cursed Native American werewolf who's been living for hundreds of years and is trying to use his curse for good, and he ends up being the arch nemesis of Hunter Rose slash the Grendel. This is, like I said, the Grendel is one of the more unique comic book characters, once again, because of the fact that he's basically a criminal. He's not an anti-hero at all. No, he's a full-on criminal. He kills, he robs. He's literally like it's like having Kingpin or Green Goblin being the star of a book, which is very interesting because they don't try to Wagner nicely doesn't try to anti-hero him or give him kind of shades of gray. He's still a very interesting character because even though he's a truly an evil person, he's so good at it. You really kind of enjoy reading about it, and it's sort of this story that really set off the entire Grendel series and all the spin-offs and so forth to this day, where Grendel, even though he was a criminal, inspires people through generations afterwards to where they build robots in his name and so forth in the far future. So yeah, and especially because originally Wagner did try to start off Grendel first, didn't quite pan out. But when he got Mage going, he decided to rewrite the origin and streamline it, and this became ultimately Grendel Devil by Deed, which has now been recollected into its own trade paperback if you could pick it up. So yeah, if you wanted to jump into the Grendel series, this is a great jumping off point. Grendel Devil by Deed by Matt Wagner, which in my opinion is now a true classic.
My name is Mark McCrae, and I'm the author of The Best Saturdays of Our Lives.
I'm Dan Klink, co-host of the Best Saturdays of Our Lives podcast.
The Best Saturdays of Our Lives features programming trends from the 1966 television season all the way through the last hurrah of the early digital age of the 1990s.
On the show, if it's animated, we talk about it.
Order your signed copy today at tbsool.com.
And listen to the podcast at esonetwork.com and all podcast platforms.
Now is November 11th, 2021. First off, happy Veterans Day, everyone. And of course, you have a veteran in your life, please sure to thank them. We can never thank them enough for fighting for all the wonderful freedoms we have, which includes enjoying comic books. And with that, my favorite comic book of the week is Primordial, number 2 by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, which continues the alternate history storyline in which the space programs on Earth in the 1960s have been shut down because the animals that ship into space have disappeared. And well, we follow up that story with the story of Latka, who, if you history fans will know, was one of the original dogs that NASA sent, the Russians sent into space back in the 1960s. It literally was one of the first living creatures ever sent into space, at least from Earth. And we see what happens to her, the Latka, and how they ended with that crazy cliffhanger at the end of the first issue. Lemire does a great job with this alternate history, adding this really crazy mystery that really kind of inspires you to go like, wow, what is going on here? To where that scares people. Why did we shut the space program down? Also, what's happening with these animals that apparently they're in this crazy sci-fi dimension that you have to just see to believe, especially when Andrea Sorrentino draws it, because she does a great mix with the style, where it's a mix of great space epics with the animals as they go on their space journeys to this more grim Norse style as the humans on Earth are searching, trying to figure out what happened to the animals and uncovering the mystery. And like any good mystery, the more answers you get, the more questions you get, and that's really hooking you in. I'm really enjoying Primordial. It's like Jeff Lemire, like he has a knack for these crazy stories, and this one really is crazy. It's like, okay, it's an alternate history book about the animals we send into space who disappeared. How could that be a good story? Well, so far it's a great story. So yes, Primordial number 2. That's my favorite comic of the week. Until then, join me again next week. We'll probably have another edition of the classics. But as always, go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book. If you can, go out and enjoy Grendel, Devil by Deed, because that, in my opinion, is a true classic.